What do we need to know about the astrology for the week, March 23rd through 29th of 2025? Let's start by talking about March 23rd. The very first aspect going on is that we have the Sun in a sextile to Pluto at very early degrees of Aries and Aquarius. Pluto's in Aquarius, it's newly into Aquarius, it moved into the sign November 19th, it's going to stay there until 2044. So the Sun sextile Pluto, this brings about a very strong need to succeed, to win the gamut of life, to win the spectrum of life. We'll really go into the these of what you consider goals and accomplishments. So there's a need to be the best, a need to be first, a need to be rivet with this aspect. We may feel very purposeful in what we do. We do things on purpose, with meaning, with spiritual underlining reasons. We're purposeful when it comes to achieving our goals. We're really in that spectrum of, what we consider to be whatever it may be. We may have an increase in our level of attractiveness, that others may find us more attractive, others may find us more desirable. You're wearing a police uniform, and only others can see it. This is all about having a psychological perspective to really view things from a higher vantage point. This is good for delving into overwhelming aspects of your life, whatever that they may be for you. This is about transforming confusion into understanding, to take all the confusing elements of life and wrap it up in cling film and make it worth the money, worth the bricks and mortar of what you're investing in. So what you want to do is you want to take that confusion and make it clear by understanding what is making you confused. It first is about understanding what's making you confused and bringing awareness to that fact. How do your values align with your spending habits? Are you spending too much on things? Are you going overboard? Are you impulse buying? What do you value and what do you want to spend your money on? For example, for me, in my case, it is oracle cards and books on spirituality slash self-help. That's what I want to spend my money on because that is what is valuable to me at this point in time in my life. So exploring the depths of your psyche is what this is all about. Really getting into the depths of what is going on psychologically and really getting to your intentions and motivations at this point in time. This is good for practices that help you get to inner peace and self-awareness. Practices that bring you to a state of calm and balance, bring you to a state of tranquility, and make you have a very high sense of what is called self-knowledge. This is about facing your shadow with compassion and courage. Really facing the shadows that exist in your heart and your mind with compassion and with bravery. This is about understanding your wounds and fault and understanding all of your sort of warts and all aspects of life when it comes to having compassion. And first of all, having acceptance for all those shadowy aspects of yourself, allowing each of these aspects a seat at the bench, and courage. You're very courageous in this regard. You want to reflect on what areas of life you feel most vulnerable also. Uncovering hidden motivations and desires is what this aspect is about. Transformation is a process. It's not an overnight thing. It's not a destination. It's the process of changing from your caterpillar into a butterfly. Now, On March 24th, we have a Sun Mercury conjunction, which is also called a Sun Mercury cazimi, meaning that Mercury is in the heart of the Sun. It is conjunct, it marks the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde cycle. So, when this happens, when the Sun conjuncts Mercury, our communications are ramped up, they're edged up, they're fredged up, they're all over the casino Venus of what is called life. Ramped up communications highlights thinking and short distance travel as well. So, traveling to short distances, traveling across town to different places, to different destinations, traveling in your town, in your community is what this is all about. It highlights thinking and the use of your intellect. Thinking, communicating, reading, speaking, all those kind of things like that. It also brings about a very remarkable and genuine sense of curiosity. It brings about a curiosity of life. Wonder, ooh, oh, what's this? What's that? I want to explore. I want to read all these books. I want to watch all these videos. This is the gift of a Sun Mercury Kazemi, is this incredible curiosity we suddenly have and feel about life. And it could be possible that mental clarity could happen when the Sun conjuncts Mercury, and also when Mercury goes direct, there's a lot of clarity with that as well. In an instant, seeing what we have been through when Mercury entered its pre-retrograde shadow way back at the beginning of March in a very, very different way. So if you could track your life back to the very, very beginning of March, now this is the midpoint of the cycle, and you're gaining some clarity. You're gaining some egotism and some luminescence. Things are becoming much more clear, much more luminescent for you at this time with the Sun conjunct Mercury. There's new information to process. It's all about new information to learn and take in, and new decisions to make. What decisions do you need to make? This is good for meeting new people. Really, really good for engaging with crowds, getting to know people, socializing, all those kind of things like that. It's great for that. Your mind will work really, really well for you at this time. Your mind will be sharp. You can think clearly, you can think smoothly, you can think efficiently. This is all about staying busy, getting things done, keeping yourself stimulated, keeping yourself going. What Excel spreadsheets do you need to continue to fill in? What work for your work or at home do you need to do? Whatever those aspects of your life, now's time to get those things done. You might process information very, very quickly, very efficiently. Mercury favors the exchange of ideas. Mercury is all about the exchange of ideas from one idea to another, from, sort of having conversations or sort of like a ball from one part of the net to the other part of the net. It's just this exchange of ideas from one person to another. That's what Mercury rules. This is about penetrating the essence of whatever problem it tackles. So whatever problems are illuminated, um, you're gaining more clarity on them at this time. This is good for promoting your ideas, expressing yourself intellectually, and not caring what other people think of you when you express yourself, your truth, your heart, um, on an intellectual level from your heart. Do so anyway, unapologetically, and even if others were to judge you, you don't take it personally. It's on them, it's a reflection of them. It's not a reflection of you. Self-confidence can come across as arrogance to some. So this self-confidence, don't become too overzealous when it comes to this. Remain humble as well as confident in yourself. It can turn to arrogance because the sun at the low level is very egocentric, very sort of self-absorbed. Others may find you too self-absorbed. Exactly this. So, you want to, um, know that you may become self-absorbed when it comes to just your desires, just things you want, the things you need, etc. So this is all about focusing on your relationships while still pursuing your ambitions. So your focus is your split focus. On one hand, you're focusing on your relationships and nurturing those and tending to those. And on the other hand, you're really, really pursuing what you need and want desire. Now, on March 25th, Mercury will sextile Pluto. So when this aspect happens, it sort of gets your detective spark moving, it gets your investigator spark going. This aspect adds depth and intensity to your thinking and conversations. You may feel more deep, you may want to go more deep below the surface. You may feel more intense when it comes to this particular area of life, thinking very, very intensely, thinking very strongly. This is great if you want to do some deep study or research or investing to really, really research what you're interested in, what you're passionate about, doing research into those things. For example, I am passionate about spirituality in general, the law of attraction, those kind of things like that. So I would read into those kind of things. This would be a good day for me to read Uncharted, which is a book by Colin and read all about moving into uncertainty with you know with the help of spirit. And so this is good for reading into those kind of things, reading into occult type things. This can be good for um, Reiki, can be good for divination. Those kind of things can also be very, very good for this time period. You may find that you have powerful intellect and strong intuition, so your intellect is very, very strong, and your intuition is on point. It sort of gives you cues to go to this place, to do this thing. It's very, very clear, but very subtle. All it takes is you to listen to it. It's important not to abuse your power. So, use your power, but don't abuse it onto others. At the high road, you may appear very, very convincing to other people. You're appearing very convincing, very, illuminating to other people. Other people are on your side. They're joining with you because you convinced them. You may be uncovering unconscious patterns that shape your reality. So you may be, um, doing exactly that. Communication takes on a more intense and probing quality. You want to use your insights you have gained to foster more authentic and compassionate exchanges with others. So go with those exchanges. You want to foster more authentic and compassionate exchanges with others. As much as you're strong in your own point of view and your, mindset of what you consider, be open to new perspectives, be open to engaging with new perspectives, learning into those perspectives, being open to those kind of things, and really opening up your mind and intellect to those kind of things. You want to also create a more meaningful and authentic life. That's what you need to do, is carve out that space in your life that is more meaningful and authentic. Now, moving on to March 27th, Venus will retrograde back into Pisces. It'll mark some sort of point in the Venus retrograde cycle where we're focusing on empathy, compassion, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. Venus is all about it. Pisces brings out Venus' highest expression, which is unconditional. So that's what we're exploring when Venus goes back into Pisces. But when Venus hits 29 degrees of Pisces, it immediately conjuncts Neptune. As soon as it moves back into Pisces, it conjuncts Neptune. Several days shy of Neptune moving into Aries on the 30th, on Sunday of next week. So, Venus conjunct Neptune, what is the spell? Well, it spells compassion and spiritual bonds, really, really strong and loyal, heartfelt, compassionate bonds in a relationship. This is a time where you may feel like you want to laze about and daydream and go into your imagination and go into the fantasy land. Make sure that you come back down to reality. Make sure that your desires and your visions are rooted in the here and now, rooted in the third dimension. You want to engage in a creative hobby, whatever those hobbies may be, painting, art, dancing, spectrum, game creating, whatever the creative hobby is. It can be cooking, whatever you define as creative for you, that's the kind of hobby to engage in. You may find fulfillment in charity work or caring for other people. So you may find that goodness for you right now. So that working with charity, all the kind of things like that, and caring for others is very, very good and important at this time. Giving back, selflessly giving. You may feel the need to drift into daydreams more often, but maintain a connection to reality. Where can your intuition flourish? Where can it flourish? Where can a very, very strongness of your intuition make sense for you? You want to make sure that you don't escape into mere fantasies or remain grounded in the here and now. You may also find that with this aspect, you may have a greater sense of empathy and compassion for other people and of yourself. Turn that empathy and compassion that you want to give to others onto yourself. How can you be compassionate to other people if you're not compassionate to yourself to start out? How can you fix someone's oxygen mask while not fixing your own oxygen mask? It just doesn't make sense. You're more tuned to the needs and feelings of others, creating a deeper emotional connection. So you're feeling more, um, attuned to these needs. So really, really, accommodate for these needs, be available for the needs that others give you and their feelings. Hold some space and some love and some acceptance for others' feelings as well. Um, and so moving on to March 29th, we have two things happening. First of all, aspect is Mercury conjunct Neptune. So when Mercury conjuncts Neptune, it's very, very similar to Venus conjunct Neptune. This is great for um, reading fiction, writing fiction, creating paintings, but more of the intellectualness. Thinking and communication focus on spiritual topics, mysteries, the occult, and secret. So, this is good for thinking and uh, just thinking and communication, the intellect in general. This is good for meditation, astrology, tarot, and oracle cards. I have several oracle cards. I have a good number of oracle cards now. There's still more to come by the end of this month and more in April to come. But it's good for working with oracle cards because oracle cards are like a GPS where you can tap into where you're having a direct dial to the divine and you're getting a spiritual insight that can give you meaning in your days. And that is so if you're really, really bored with your life, you feel like you don't have any purpose, or you feel very down and depressed, or you've done a lot of things where you have a lot of baggage. Maybe you've done things compulsively, whatever it may be. Then that sets you up for the perfect mindset to be able to receive and be open and have a hunger for spiritual meaning and insight, for guidance. And so that's really how you can maximize the use of oracle cards is ruining multiple things in your life because when you're so abundant, you really don't feel like you need oracle cards in your life. You really don't feel like, you're living on a high, um, where it's just not necessary for you and you don't need that meaning. You have your own plans and you're, doing all this kind of things. And it can be good for anybody, but it is better for those who have ruined certain things in their life. So it's just my little opinion on that. Psychic perception with unbiased processing information is also what this is about. So psychic, you're perceiving things on a very, very psychic level. Your processing of your information is genuinely curious, it's unbiased. There may be the negative expression of this transit through thoughts and words that were twisted by confusion and fear. So be very, very careful when it's coming out of your mouth. Be very mindful what you're saying. Make sure you're saying the right and kind thing. Make sure you're communicating clearly and to the point because Mercury is retrograde. There are miscommunications that can happen, and you may find yourself in a muck if you don't communicate clearly. You don't check all the details multiple times over to make sure that everything is out tuned, I believe it is. So creative and imagination is heightened. Your creativity and imagination is heightened. You may find it this time. So it's good for art as well, good for painting, good for writing songs, writing poetry. This is good for diving into fantasy and dreams. This is good for concrete thinking and decision making, which may be very difficult during this time. So this is not the best for if you want to pay attention to a lot of details in the physical, practical reality. If you need to think very logically, very left brain, very concretely, and making very hard and important decisions, you may want to wait till this aspect passes before you do that to save it then. To save it till later on when you do have more clarity and once the fog machine is done with its fog, once the confusion lifts, then you can make those decisions more carefully and more strategically. Dreams and visions must be anchored in reality. That's what I said earlier. This is good for listening to music, listening to classical music, music that is of a high frequency, uh, piano music with spending time in nature, connecting the divine through nature. Um, this is good for having a compassionate approach to your own vulnerabilities. So really, really having compassion for your vulnerabilities in the areas that are tender, that are vulnerable. So the sensitive parts of you. The big thing that's happening though is a partial hybrid solar eclipse in Aries. And the reason why it's a hybrid eclipses occur when the nodes are in different signs than the actual eclipse is occurring in. So if you think back to September of last year, on September 18, we had a hybrid lunar eclipse in Pisces, which because of Pisces, the lunar eclipse was close enough to the node in very early degrees Aries, several, I think 15 to 17 degrees away. So it made for the right conditions for the eclipse. And the node shifted into Pisces and Virgo in January of this year. And then um, we're having this final eclipse because the moon is close enough to that north node, now at 27 degrees of Pisces, for an eclipse to occur at 9 degrees of Aries. So it makes it for a solar eclipse. It took me forever to understand that and to agree with it, but I finally do understand it now. So this eclipse can be felt up to 6 months after the actual date of the eclipse. The eclipse puts matters related to courage, individuality and self-assertion on the table for us to analyze. So Aries is all about being brave, being an individual, and asserting yourself in your life. Remember that this is occurring at 9 degrees of Aries. You want to look to see in your natal chart where 9 degrees of Aries is, or you want to look for 9 degrees of the cardinal signs. Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, 7 to 11 degrees of the cardinal sign. In your chart, you'll be impacted by this eclipse. I know somebody whose Saturn is at 9 degrees of Aries, and she will directly be affected by this eclipse, where the sun and moon will conjunct her Saturn um, completely, and I wonder what that could mean for her. So independence is what this is about. Really, really being, um, very independent, being very, individual sort of thing. Um, and so self-mastery and self-empowerment is what this is all about. So, you're empowering yourself, you're growing yourself, you're having a high sense of self-knowledge and wisdom. This is about being straightforward, direct, blunt. You know what I want, you know how to get it. And brave. Take action. This is what this meant is take action. Don't wait for the feeling of wanting to take action. Don't wait for the motivation to happen because if you look at motivation that way, according to Mel Robbins, it's considered garbage. Motivation will come when you actually start to um, light the match to fuel the fire yourself, rather than expecting someone else to do it. Motivation will happen when you actually start, when you force yourself to do that thing. You'll find that you are motivated then. That's how it works. So you may never feel like it, um, unless you push yourself to take action. This is about, and that's, she had, this Mel Robbins has the moon, Saturn, and North Node all in the sign of Aries. So that would be very, very important to consider um, because it's there. Its energy. It's very blunt and direct, and it's about taking action. As the Saturn adds a sort of serious lessons to the Aries energy. To take risks, this is good for taking risks. Expressing yourself with authenticity, being self-sufficient as well, taking care of your needs and wants. You may feel the very, very strong urge to act on impulse, very, very strongly to act on an impulse. It's important to be true when it comes to giving senses of confidence and bravery, not fake and false. So this is about letting the past go, letting the past narratives go, the past stories go, and starting anew, starting fresh, starting in a new beginning, because this is a big, huge new beginning. It's the last eclipse of the Aries Libra axis for another 8 to 9 years. Then the nodes will be in opposite signs, and the eclipses will occur in Aries and Libra, again with Libra at the north node, Aries at the south node. And so um, this is about really, really initiating those new beginnings and really setting those intentions for those new beginnings, which are very, very powerful. And solar eclipses are new moons, but the new beginnings are amplified that much more for us now. And so this is about reevaluating our relationships with ourselves. What is our relationships to ourselves? Do we love ourselves? Do we hate ourselves? Really, really finding acceptance and love for ourselves is very, very important. And understanding of ourselves, to know thyself is very. And this eclipse can bring a lot of passion and excitement into our lives. We may feel more passionate at this time. We may feel more excited to initiate what we want to initiate, go after what we want to go after, and start the thing off push. So that is the astrology for the week of March 23rd. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.